I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm here with my friend Dave Klein, who works with Cymulate. He's got a very cool title. He's director. He's Cyber Evangelist. You're going to enjoy hearing from Dave. We're going to learn about security posture management and attack simulation. You'll want to stick around for this. A lot of good stuff coming up. So, Dave, welcome to New York.
Great to be here.
Came up from Philly.
Came up from Philadelphia, yes.
It's great to see you. Hey, before we get into kind of the tech and the background,
Sure.
real quickly, what does Cymulate do?
So Cymulate is a cybersecurity continuity package, right? It's a solution and partnership that helps enterprises do a number of things. One, really optimize their operational efficiencies. They know what they need to keep, what they can get rid of, and that what they have, that they're getting the biggest value for the spend for it. Number two, which is also critical, it reduces risk. And a lot of people say they reduce risk, but the key here is the metrics behind it. We start with a baseline of security posture and then allow you to fine tune and see how you do over time, because you have enterprise drift, you have threats change every day. So there's all sorts of reasons why it would change. You want to make sure it's going in the right direction, where the risk is being reduced in the right way. On top of that, what's also really important is it helps build communication between your technical staff, your cybersecurity staff, and business. I think what's often missing in a lot of these solutions is relating problems to the business, business downtime, business damage. And in this way, we see a real marriage between the different places, one team versus competing teams or teams that are left out. Finally, it allows you to prioritize and manage your whole solution set in the best way possible.
That was a very coherent answer to
Thank
that.
you.
I think you've done that before. So in other words, when somebody wants to know how we're doing, you guys let them know here's how you're doing in security.
Correct.
How am I doing? Hopefully good.
Absolutely. And for me, as an expert person in cybersecurity, it's really valuable to help people maximize what they have. So, yeah.
How'd you get into this area?
Oh, this is really kind of interesting. I started with a degree in psychology, but I was always into computers as a kid. And as a senior in high school, I was the only AP honors kid who had a Votech schedule. I was their main AV person who put together all their Apple IIe computers. They had no IT department. So I was one who was going around managing that kind of stuff. Then I went to college, didn't like to code. So stepped away from it a little bit. By the time I left and graduated, I went right back into computers, and I love it. So that's how I got into it. In fact, New York City, after 9/11, I spent several years, 4 years, coming here, working with the fire department, the police department, and other agencies, the transit authority, help securing up security here.
I'll be darned. Now, tell me about Cymulate. Has it been around a long time?
Been around for quite a while, and it's still an Israeli startup. But the key is we've really gone global because we really are probably the most effective, the most comprehensive in being able to handle those issues I talked about.
Yeah. Now, some people watching might think, all right, this sounds like breach and attack simulation, or BAS, however you pronounce it. Is it related to that?
It is. So the key is breach attack simulation is a very broad category of tools that test environments. The key difference here is the level of comprehensiveness and the way that we solve use cases. We really get into optimizing your security controls, finding out attack viability, even doing things like looking at your external attack surface, looking for stolen passwords, accounts, even different threats and vulnerabilities that you're not aware of. We even get into things on the other side of when you do the tests, it's not just the answers, it's a prescriptive answer, both from the business side and the technical side to tell them what to do next. So not left in the dark. It's not like you get a bad grade, a failing grade, you don't know what to do. You get exactly the feedback you need because we tie in to all your third-party and first-party controls intuitively and basically give you the answer for you.
Let's go back to how am I doing. So is there some frame, like using MITRE ATT&CK or something like that? What's the baseline?
That's a very good question. So we use MITRE ATT&CK framework and a few others throughout the solution to allow you to see things in language that you understand. It's also very helpful because today, cybersecurity is one of these things where skill sets are hard to come by, and people have to learn on the job, right? You hire people in, and you have to learn on the job. So it helps them. The MITRE ATT&CK framework helps people understand this very important part of their control optimization, but also learn as they go.
One criticism I've always had for a lot of maybe first generation tools is that they'll take like this snapshot, and then 3 seconds after the snapshot's taken, it's out of date, or who knows? Like, how do you guys deal with that problem?
So the beauty of what we did is we came into the market, which was breach attack simulation, and we realized, just like you did, that's not enough. That there were several things that had to be in play to be successful. One was continuous. We take away all the arduous work to make it very easy to do this in a continuous fashion, 24/7, 365. On top of that, because we focus on those use cases of optimizing spend, optimizing defenses, reducing risk, and showing baselining and trending over time, giving the prescriptive results so people can actually go through and prioritize and fix the things out there. That's really our recipe for success.
Yeah. Where do you feed this stuff? Does it go in SIM or GRC, or where do you connect this up to?
We can feed this into a SIM. It has its own dashboard
They have
and
your own
reporting.
thing, yeah.
We have our own dashboard and reporting. We can feed into a SIM. With SOAR, we can tie into SOAR automation and even help
I
you
come in my
optimize SOAR.
office, I see the screen, Simon
Yes.
saying, you ain't doing good, you better go.
Yes, exactly.
Can be like
That's
that.
a key. Yeah, it's a key. Yeah.
But you do feed other components.
We feed other components as well. We take in information from other components as well. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to give such great prescriptive output, because we know you're using this brand of EDR, that you have a Palo Alto SOAR, that you have this firewall and this other vendors and stuff like that.
I would think that would be a key issue for a CISO or for a security team, that when they get excited about your tool,
Yes.
immediately that goes to, but now I've got to embed it into my architectural mess.
Correct.
I've got this distributed mess of
Yeah.
tools and operation centers and third parties and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Do you need sort of consulting to help do that, or can people deploy this easily? What kind of process is
So the
that?
positive here is a number of things. One is because of the way of the architecture, you very easily tie into all these third parties relatively easy, either through an API set or an agent pulls the information from the actual host itself. So that kind of stuff is relatively easy. And so really, the benefit is it's something that you can do without professional services, and often get going in less than 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Are there some sectors that you guys have had more success with than others? Is this do big companies tend to like this more than mid-size, or is it all over the map?
One of the things I do for my company is a lot of research. So I look at usage reports from our company, millions of tests a year, and see how my customers are doing. And I can tell you we have customers from the small end all the way through to the major Fortune 500. And so there's really no sweet spot. And the beauty of the solution also is everyone can get something out of it. So even the companies who have just a few people can use it to test their MSPs to see how they're doing, can get enough information out of it to tune their EDR, where the corporate 500 could go ahead and do all sorts of other iterations as well.
Is it possible to do third-party risk management this way as well?
Absolutely. So third party, and also software as a service is the number one architecture today. So it's very we can absolutely use this for third party risk as well as supply chain, and find out how much risk you're getting from that application or third party.
How do I have to drop something into their environment? How would you actually do that?
So there's a number of ways of doing that. One is if you have a partnership with that third party, you would drop something in their environment. But most often, as you know, most people don't allow that. What we do is we drop in where that integrates into your enterprise. You might find out that you have a third-party application that has too loose controls in its environment, not enough segmentation, not enough control. The account it uses is a root administrator, where it should be a regular service account, that kind of thing.
I see.
Yeah.
Cloud is probably different. I probably can go on the cloud side there.
Absolutely can do cloud and on-premises, and we even get into cloud security controls.
Do you find that the vast majority of your customers do kind of extend the enterprise out to cloud?
Absolutely.
Almost everybody. Huh?
I'd say everyone does a hybrid environment, and there's a few customers who are .com startups that are cloud first, but most are hybrid.
Yeah. You guys talk about a concept known as drift.
Yes.
Explain to me what that is and how you guys deal with that problem.
Every company today is so tuned to IT. IT is critical, mission critical for their business. It means that things change in your environment so quickly. And with things that automate like Chef, Puppet, Ansible, with a few mouse clicks, I could push up 1,000 new VPCs, 1,000 new instances easily. And that also means that over time, configurations and misconfigurations, more importantly, are introduced. And so the key is you're not just fighting the fact that attackers change 24/7. I do a newscast every week for my company. And it's the number of stories I have versus the amount of time I have is so little. It's amazing. I have to pick and choose which stories I talk about. So the attacks are changing all the time. But more than that, you have the vulnerabilities and you have the drift, the idea that the things change so quickly that you need to be able to, again, look at, measure risk, not only from a baseline, but a trending over time for that reason.
So drift can be good or bad, right?
It can be good or bad.
Yeah.
The key is you want to make it good.
Yeah.
You want to make it good. That what you're doing is you're controlling the changes over time.
What do you do? You mentioned your newscast. What
Yes.
do you do? How do you keep up with all the changes and attacks and threats? Because fundamentally, what you're selling here
Yes.
is not just the ability to tell me how I'm doing, but also to keep track of what I can't keep track of and tell me. How in the devil do you keep track of all that?
That's one of the key things about Cymulate over our competition is we keep that platform updated 24/7, 365. The idea is, you might have a new vulnerability that comes out, but it might be exploited with new TTPs, techniques, tactics, and procedures differently by different threat actors. And so what you'll see is one vulnerability come into play, you'll see the first exploit, the second, the 20th, and the key is because we keep up to date, you are really assured that you're going to do well if a real attack occurs because you're testing against real types of attacks, safely, by the way, in production.
Any obvious trends in threat that you see? Are they getting more nation state? Are they getting more campaign oriented? Are they getting more zero-day focus?
I'd argue
things?
the biggest thing I saw, we had a report we did of 1 million attacks over the last year. The biggest things I saw were a few things.
1 million attacks?
Million tests against people were testing in their environment based on these threats. The biggest thing I saw was they're living off the land better. They're doing great jobs to get into your Exchange server, getting into your Active Directory, finding ways to land and expand that takes advantage of your own resources in a really cool way. Cool. I'm a threat hunter. I kind of like that.
No, it's okay. We get it.
But the key is, what I'm finding is your critical infrastructure is their critical infrastructure, and that is really where you have to focus first. So that's number one. Number two, it is really an EDR world. I'll say that. That really we're at a point now where they know signatures so well because they test everything they do before they put it out against signature-based antivirus that you need to have EDR everywhere. The other big thing I see is they really are taking advantage of the weaknesses, basic fundamental weaknesses, multi-factor authentication. If you don't have multi-factor authentication, they're very easily come in and scoot themselves in, and weak passwords. Yeah. These are kind of fundamental things, low-hanging fruit that enterprises could take care of and address that we hope that people do. I would say those are the biggest things. Yeah.
If an attacker finds a way in and dwells quietly for a long period of time, can they, while they're dwelling, can they evade some posture management tools? Is that just a hazard of dealing with modern attackers if they just lay under the table for a while? Do you have to kind of wait for them to wiggle a little bit?
You don't have to wait for them to wiggle because we wiggle for you. That's kind of the whole idea of doing a simulation, right? Is that when I started doing the work here, actually in New York City a while ago, is a lot of times you had to wait to an attack to see what was working and not working. But today, just like when you get in the car, it's been crash tested. You can crash test by the way, you can crash test without crashing your production environment, and you can do that today. And that's why you want to have simulations. You don't want to wait until the person moves. You want to be able to shore up security. And what we found too, by the way, is as people tighten up security, even if they're laying low, they make a mistake. They sneeze, right? So they're in your broom closet and they sneeze and we hear it, right? So the idea is that when you shore up security over time, they're less likely to be hidden.
I mean, in a sense, that's sort of the value prop for attack simulation.
It is.
That if somebody is a live attacker, if they really are dwelling, you ain't going to find them. But if you come in and I simulate and I find the problem, then I can fix the problem and then maybe perhaps not even knowing it,
correct,
I may have prevented something that could have happened. Is that it in a nutshell?
It is, because the key is as you tighten things up, even if they're inside your environment, they can't live off the land anymore. They're kind of stuck in that broom closet and not able to do anything. They can't take advantage of Active Directory or Exchange or your infrastructure to do damage. And if they even try, the damage is minimized.
Interesting.
And they're detected.
When you take out your crystal ball and start to think through the next few years, say in terms of both threat and also posture management, what do you say? Are you optimistic, or is risk ultimately going to go the way of, say, physical banks where we don't see as many bank robberies as we did a long time ago? Or will it go in a different direction where it just continues to get worse? What do you think?
So the difference between banks and physical security and even money processing and cybersecurity is we keep changing. So the idea is, we talk about GitHub and Chef, Puppet, Ansible to push things out quicker. We talk about cloud architectures. We talk about these being more important than your laptop. It really is a situation where we continue to augment and change what we do so often. I don't see the risk changing. What I do see changing is this. IT is so critical to almost all businesses in the world, I'd say all businesses really, that it's at a point where it's business impactful and the business people are starting to pay attention. And so it's not just an IT or cybersecurity exercise, it's the business saying, I know you say that you can restore the backups within 2 weeks. We'll be dead in 2 weeks if that happens. You need to do it within 48 hours. Let's make it happen. And I'll put some money towards it too, because I see that this is so important. So by going ahead and having the business involved has totally changed the tables. So I think, being a little optimistic, I think we're going to do okay. But the landscape is going to continue to change, right? You talk about AR headsets, maybe in 10 years' time I'll come out here and I'll see you and I'll have all the information from you and I'll be wearing a pair of glasses and the phone will disappear. But the key is, I think, because it's so business impactful that we're seeing some changes.
Dave, if people are interested in more about Cymulate, what's the best way to get in touch with you or the team? Or
we have a great website, so go to Cymulate.com. We have a great series of blog posts and articles that we do. I run a newscast every week.
Right.
We have webinars and podcasts. You can go ahead as you jog, listen to our podcast. And we try to keep the information very educational, so not just talk about us. We're not preachy, even though my name's an evangelist. I'm a cyber evangelist. I'm not preachy. You don't have to call me rabbi. But the key is we try to really give the information about the industry and how to keep up and everything.
Right.
Not just about us, and it's quite fun.
I think you have a fun job.
I have a fun job.
It's good stuff. I want to thank you for coming to visit us in New York City today.
Thanks, Ed.
It's wonderful. We'll keep track of Cymulate and come back and visit us again.
Thank you so much.
Good deal.
Cool.
For everyone else watching, we'll see you next time.